How do you respond when people criticize you? Another way of asking the question is, how do you respond when people praise you? Do you feel worse when somebody makes a critical comment or a constructive criticism? Or do you feel better about yourself when somebody praises you? We're continuing the series of looking at Life You've Always Wanted by John Ortberg, and this chapter is really about impression management. How can we move beyond living our lives to govern the way we feel about what people think of us, either good or bad? And so, in fact, in this chapter, he talks about, let me read this, I like this. He says, when you're in your 20s, someone once wrote, you live to please people. When you're in your 30s, you get tired of trying to please others, so you get miffed with them for making you worry about it. But when you're in your 40s, you realize nobody was thinking about you anyway. That's so well said. And he writes here, imagine receiving criticism or judgment as a very small thing. Imagine being liberated from the need to impress anyone. Imagine our sense of esteem no longer resting on whether someone notices how smart or attractive or successful we are. Imagine being able to actually feel love towards someone who expresses disapproval of us. And for many cases, we're approval addicts. We want people to think well of us. We want people to think good things about us. And we are often trying to manage our impression. We see this all the time on social media. If you post something, we want people to like and subscribe, right? We want a thumbs up rather than a thumbs down, or we want a love symbol. We want people to make positive comments. We want to feel good about ourselves. But is that really necessary? We need to be able to move beyond impression management. So how do we do that? In the book, he sort of references a couple things I want to reference. The first is simply really realizing the power of our mind, that we can take captive the thoughts in our minds. 2 Corinthians chapter 10, verse 5 says, in the whole section, this one section I want to say is, we take every thought captive to obey Christ. So out of all the thoughts streaming in our minds, we have spiritual power to take captive these thoughts and give them and make them obedient to Christ. In other words, just because I'm having a thought doesn't mean I have to respond in a certain way. Instead, I can choose to give it to God and not allow it to control my thinking or my behavior. And the second way he talks about it in the book is he calls it the practice of secrecy. It's the simple idea that I'm going to do things for people that I will be able to never get any positive response back. So he references the scripture from Matthew chapter 6. Jesus in the Sermon on the Mount talks about giving and praying and fasting and to not be like the Pharisees. In fact, he says in Matthew 6:1, he says, beware of practicing your piety before others in order to be seen by them, for then you will have no reward from your Father in heaven. That's strong language. It's not you'll receive some reward. It's you'll receive no reward because you're trying to look good in front of other people. And so he advises in the book just to try a simple practice. Instead of trying to draw recognition to yourself, instead do something for somebody else in secret. Maybe a simple thing you can do today is to pray for somebody. To pray for somebody or bathe somebody in prayer in secret. To lift them up, continue before them. Maybe you set an alarm on your phone that at every top of the hour, you're going to say a brief prayer to bathe somebody in prayer. Most likely, unless somebody sees a notification on your phone, no one's going to ever know about that. But it's a simple way you can kill impression management on your side. You know, a second way is you could simply give. You could give some money or give to some sort of charity, but you could give to something anonymously, not to make a big show of it. Or you could do some simple act of kindness. I know this has happened to me sometimes when the trash comes, right? The trash guys come in our house on Fridays, and sometimes I'll see my trash can up, and I ask Kate Did you do that? Did you bring up a trash can? And no, somebody else did it. And it's probably my neighbor, I don't know, but you just do something for somebody without any type of reward, without any type of recognition. The practice of secrecy. So let's move beyond impression management of worrying about what people think of us. Life's too short for that. Instead, let's do something simple today. Would you do something simple today for somebody else, not to draw attention to yourself, but just to show them the love of God? I'll see you next time.